Hi everyone. So today we're going to be talking about self-sabotage, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So when you want something and you set this big goal and you're so excited to kind of make this happen, and when it comes around to it, you just don't get on it. So why is that, and what on earth can you do about it? Well, today we're going to be diving into the real reason that sabotage happens. A lot of us believe a myth that just isn't true. And when we truly understand what's under self-sabotage, that's what empowers us to be able to do something about it and to make a real change, rather than approaching it in a way that's actually just holding us back and keeps us stuck and keeps us procrastinating. If you don't know, I'm Kirsty Gwen. I'm the founder of Positive EQ, and that's a method of training your brain to be more positive so that you can overcome fear and self-doubt, and you can build a life that makes you feel calm and content and truly confident about your future. So I also host a Facebook group called Calm and Content, and that, as you can hear, is exactly what we discuss in there. So that's free, and if it sounds like something you'd like to join, there's a link in the description of the video. Talking of your brain being negative and fearful, I also have a free info sheet called 4 Thinking Errors Guaranteed to Make You Anxious. And in there you're going to find 4 of the thinking errors that lead to a fear-based mindset, and why they aren't true, and what you can tell yourself instead of maybe thinking in that specific way. There's also a link to that in the description of the video. Now let's get on to today's topic of self-sabotage. So maybe you have a goal in mind and you have something that you really, really want, but when it comes to acting on it, you just don't make it happen. Maybe in the beginning you feel really, really motivated and you're so driven, and you might even start off really strong. It's still quite early into the year, and so a lot of us are hot off the tails of our New Year's resolutions, and you might have actually put it into action in the beginning, but then you've kind of fallen off the wagon. And one of the big things that we maybe start to feel is that, we hear this idea of maybe you don't really want it. And there's this big myth around self-sabotage and procrastination that says that if we really want something, we'll make it happen. And I'm sure, like me, you've heard that 1,000 times, right? And what would happen for me, what was really difficult about that and believing that, is that when I found myself kind of holding back on a goal that I really wanted, when I found myself not taking the actions that I kind of told myself I'm committed to taking these actions, I actually, I felt a range of negative emotions. I felt disappointed in myself, felt like I'd let myself down, and then I even became really angry with myself, and I kind of say things like, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I not doing this? This is something I want. Why is it not happening? And then, starting to listen to that kind of myth that flies around where people say, well, if you really want something, you're going to make it happen. And because I saw a lot of sense in that, and it's certainly an idea that makes sense, but what happens then is, at least for me, I would start looking at it and go, maybe I don't want this. And I would start actually questioning my goal. And so is that something that you maybe relate to, where you get to this place, you're just not making it happen, you're noticing how much you're not making it happen, getting really frustrated, letting yourself down, maybe getting angry with yourself, and then actually kind of turning on the entire goal and saying, well, obviously I don't want it as much as I thought I wanted it. And so today, I'm going to be sharing with you why that just isn't true. And I'll tell you why it's not true. It's not true because we need a few things in order to move forward on a goal. And one of the things we need is we need courage. And what is actually happening when we procrastinate, when we hold back, when we self-sabotage, is we're usually experiencing a lot of fear, whether we're conscious of it or not. And that fear pops up and it says to you, you want this, but it also risks rejection. It risks failure. You might be rejected, you might fail, and you might be judged for it. Like, what will people think of you if it doesn't work out? What will you think of yourself? What will it mean about you if it doesn't work out? And so that fear-based mind is coming up and it's saying, you might want that, but we don't want this all the risk that comes with it. That's a painful side of this, and therefore we shouldn't do it. And what you actually have here is two parts of your brain. We've spoken about it before in a previous live. I think that one is called, Here's Why Your Brain is So Negative. We have two parts of the brain. The cool system, that's kind of your dreaming system that's saying, like, this is what I want, this is my goal, this is where I see myself moving towards. And then you have your heart system, which its whole job is to keep you safe, and that means it comes from a place of fear, and it's always looking for danger. And what's really happening here is you have this dream, you have this goal, and your heart system's coming and saying, we're not going to move on that because there's negative outcomes that could happen. There's things that we're just not prepared to risk. I don't want people to think badly of me. I don't want to get rejected. I don't want to fail. So I'm just going to keep myself safe. It's safer to sabotage myself. It's safer to procrastinate. It's a safer place. The problem is that you do really want this goal, right? This is something you really want, and so you're going to feel let down and disappointed in yourself. So these days, what I do instead when I'm not moving forward on a goal is that I know that that's usually because of fear, right? And that just allows me to kind of respond to it better, to respond to it differently. Because before, when I thought, okay, maybe it's because I don't want it, or maybe it's because, I'm not good enough or something like that, that would lead to a really self-critical, angry response, and that would just make it worse. Why that would make it worse is because your fear, when it then encounters all the self-criticism, it gets even bigger, and it's going to be even harder to move forward on your goal. So what we want to do is change that response. Now that we understand that it's actually fear that's under self-sabotage, that it's your fear of failure, of rejection, of judgment, we can change the way that we react when we see ourselves being held back, or we feel like we're holding ourselves back, right? It's actually fear often that's holding us back. So we feel like we're not moving forward on something. The way that we can then respond is just much more effectively, and just to look inwards and ask yourself the question, what am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? And you're going to find something. It's not always as obvious as what I've said. It's not always rejection, failure, or judgment. Those are three really huge ones. But sometimes we're also afraid of success, right? And that may be because of all the demands it's going to put on us, or it's going to be, it's going to keep us busy. It might impact our relationships, anything like that. So just to start with that question and to say, well, what am I afraid of here? If I'm self-sabotaging, that's a sign that there's fear. And so you actually need to respond from a kind, compassionate place and a curious place and say, well, what is happening in this space? What you're going to find, I guarantee you, is that you'll find vulnerability there, and you'll find self-doubt, and you'll find that fear. And with that new self-awareness of why you're holding back, you'll just be able to change your response, and you can change that response to be encouraging of yourself. Because really, when we're in a place of fear, to respond encouragingly is going to just have a so much better effect than being critical of ourselves. So you'll be able to therefore take steps to overcome your fear, because the fear is really the source of your self-sabotage, and it is the only thing, if you overcome the fear, it's the only thing that's going to free you from it and actually get you closer to whatever your goal is. So speaking of which, I'd love to hear in the community what your goal is. So if you're part of the Common Content Facebook group, and you're welcome to join. If you're not, as I said, the link is in the description of the video. But if you're in the community, I'd love you to comment on this and just share with us one goal of yours, whether it's big or it's small. And we can cheer each other on, because when we are feeling scared that we might not succeed, to just have support behind us and just have someone cheering us on can make the world of a difference. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next week for some more Wednesday Wisdom.